All right, welcome everybody to our seller seminar. My name is Brendan Bartik with the Bartik Group at Keller Williams Real Estate. And today, or I guess this evening, I'm going to be taking you through how to sell in a transitioning market and make sure that, or any market, but more so in a transitioning market, to make sure that you net the most money possible. So we're going to go through the entire process from start to finish. We're going to make sure that you understand basically every piece of the selling process. And we're going to jump right into it because we want to start on time for everyone that's joining us on time. And so as we get into our presentation, one of the first things of course I want to do is introduce myself so you know who's talking to you and why. But I am Brendan Bartik, and I've been in residential real estate sales now for almost 20 years. I've sold over $1 billion of residential real estate. And during those experiences, I've worked with thousands of sellers to help them net the most money possible. And during that time, we've learned a lot of strategies on what works, what doesn't, what will really bring the most value to you during this process. So feel free to ask questions as we go through. If there's things that you're not quite clear on, you can use the chat box, you can raise your hand, we'll address it, or you can come off of mute and just go, hey, right? Any of those will work, preferably not the third. But we'll take you through, and by the end of this, hopefully you'll have a really crystal clear understanding on how to sell with and also achieve not only the highest net we're going to talk about today, but how to get the highest net with the most amount of, or the least amount of inconvenience. Because in selling, a lot of this comes down to, of course, you want to get the highest amount, but you want to not have all the stress that goes along with it. And everybody's always exciting about buying your new home, finding the new home. Selling your property can sometimes feel overwhelming and intrusive and people coming into your home. So we're going to talk about how to make both of those a priority, and we're going to jump in. So let's start out. Let me get my screen here. All right. So let's talk about the home selling journey. The first thing we're going to talk about today is establishing your timeline. If now's the right time to sell, all of that. The next thing, you're going to want to select your real estate professional. So we're going to talk about some things to think about on how to find the right person to partner with to guide you through maybe one of the biggest transactions of your lifetime. Schedule a listing consultation. That way you can talk about how to get the best return on investment, pricing strategy, staging, all of these things that you're going, how's all this going to work? Next, we'll go through the property so we can talk about things that you're going to want to look at to make sure that you're focused on, so that when a buyer comes through the home, they're going to want to pull out that checkbook and write that big number that you're looking for. We're also going to talk about how to optimize your listing to get it to sell at the highest level and to get it into the hands of as many interested buyers as humanly possible. We're going to talk about the entire offer process and going through offers all the way to the closing process. So appraisal, inspection, all of that fun stuff. And then my favorite day for all of my clients, closing day. So what to expect, what happens during that, and what happens afterwards. So let's jump in and talk about establishing your timeline. So is it the right time for you to sell? And is it the right market conditions for you to sell? And this always becomes, I always want to talk about this first because, number one, when we're discussing the right time, well, that has a number of conditions depending upon your personal situation. So if you're selling your personal residence, a lot of this comes down to what you need for this sale to be successful. So where are you buying? What does that look like as far as your family situation? All of these things. If you're an investor and you're trying to time the market, a lot of this, it's never going to necessarily be a perfect time. It's going to be, where is the market right now, which we can help you with and let you know. And the market only exists because of two factors, right? Supply and demand, right? Do we have a lot of supply available? And is there enough demand right now for me to get the price that I'm looking for? When we think of right market, we know right now in today's market that real estate markets usually go on a 10-year cycle. So this market cycle really started back in about 2010, right? 2009, 2010. So we're 2 years past the traditional cycle for where there's normally an adjustment. If you looked back over the last 50 years, you would see this pattern. So the question I get is, well, are we at the top of the market? Are we at a bubble? What's going to happen? Every house is an individual situation. So if you had a house here in Denver and you had a house in a suburb, it could be a totally different situation, but depending on those two neighborhoods, the amount of supply, the amount of demand, the condition of the property, that has a lot bigger factor than the overall market that you're hearing on the news every night going, oh, this or that. Doesn't matter. Supply and demand. That's what we're going to be thinking about here. All right. So as we start to establish that and you get clear on what your timeline is, you're going to want to meet with a professional real estate agent so that you can discuss all this. That way you can understand what to think about that might influence your decision and your timing. So important considerations that we want to go through, right, is when we're going through selection of an agent, there's a couple of different things that you're going to want to consider. Number one, of course, is the agent an individual agent, meaning that they work independently. They're kind of a one-man band, if you will. Is an agent on a team, right? So do they have a team of support people that they have a marketing director, transaction coordinator, stager, handyman or woman. They have all of these pieces to make sure that that experience is seamless throughout that entire process. Then the next thing in considering an agent is we want to start thinking about validity. So how many homes and people have they actually helped sell, or has their team helped sell? Because again, if they're in a team structure, they have that whole component already taken care of. And then the other piece of this is who's going to deliver the best strategy for me to get the most money possible with the least amount of inconvenience, right? That's what I'm really looking for, right? So those are all of those considerations that you want to think about when you're selecting that agent, okay? Now, once you've done that, you're going to have your listing consultation. So you've decided to sell, you're going to have a listing consultation to just start discussing the listing process. And during that, we're going to go over a number of things. We're going to talk about your goals. So if it was the perfect situation and you were going to move into the new home, when would you like to be in the new home and how soon would you like that to be, right? We got to figure out what are your motivations to get into that property. The next is break down that timeline. So you go, look, Brendan, I want to be in Arizona. I'm moving to Scottsdale. I want to be in Arizona. I'd like to be there by the end of August. And I want to maximize the net price for my sale. How do I do that? And how do I get everything set up to make sure that that happens? So a lot of this is building out a strategic timeline that gets you exactly what you want in the time frame you want. And we'll be able to talk you through that entire process. Then the next thing is we're going to go through and go through your entire property. So we're going to walk through the property with you. We're going to go through and we're going to identify things that you have done to the property to improve the value. We're also going to look at things that could be a concern for a future buyer, right? What are those things that might be a concern that would come up on an inspection list? Maybe there's structural cracking. Maybe there's the hot water heater is 20 years old, right? And it's on its last leg. We're going to go through and talk about all of those things. And when you meet with your real estate professional, the more they know, the more they can help you, right? We're not trying to hide things from buyers. We're not trying to do anything. It's we want to disclose everything. We want to have a strategy to make sure it puts you in the best position to win. So we'll walk the inside, we'll walk the outside of the property, we'll take a look at everything. After we do that, we'll come back in, we'll sit down with you, and then we're going to start talking about how to identify the correct market value. So what I like to call a pricing strategy. So your real estate professional, or at least on our organization with the Barta Group, we're going to sit down and we're going to go through a detailed comparative market analysis. So we're going to take you through the active available competition, what their currently asking prices are, the pending homes that have recently gone under contract, and then we're going to review the closed that have closed recently. We're also going to take you through overall market stats, and then that's going to give us a lot of data to be able to figure out how we can price the property to get that buzz, that craze, that feverish frenzy over your property that's going to cause a bidding war so you can get those over asking price offers with great terms, right? We're not only trying to get your house sold, we want to get your house sold for record-breaking price per square foot numbers. And you'll hear us in real estate say the word price per square foot, or the phrase price per square foot, I guess, quite often. And remember, price per square foot is just your above ground square footage of your home divided by the list price that you select. So we use this in real estate as a value indicator. So if we know houses in a neighborhood are selling for $350 on average a square foot, and you want to list your home at $400 a square foot, well, you might be $50 a square foot higher than everyone else, and you might darn well be worth it, but we've got to justify that $50 of extra square footage to every buyer, and that's where we'll create that strategy and advise you if that makes sense or not, right? So a lot of this comes out to how do we price this property to get as many interested parties into the property as humanly possible, get them excited about it, and then create a frenzy to get the highest price. All right. And we'll think about a lot of things. We're going to go over the physical qualities of your property. Again, how much is your view worth? How much is that new kitchen that you put in worth? How much is all the landscaping that you did and the years of all the beautiful things that you've done to this property? Maybe on the other end, the property needs some repair. We'll also advise you on, okay, based on these repairs, this is what you can expect. And we can help guide you through every piece of that. And then, of course, talk about your competition. So the factors that don't affect price, and this is where some sellers get a little bit confused, right? The factors that don't affect your pricing are what you bought it for, right? So I know it's frustrating. You're going, but Brendan, you don't understand. I bought it for this. I kept every receipt on earth, and I put every receipt in this shoebox for everything I put into this property. So I need this back out of it. Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. The only thing that affects the value of your property is what a buyer's willing to pay for it. That's it. That's all that matters. Okay. Don't care about previous appraisals. If you got an appraisal done, an appraisal is an estimate of what the bank would be willing to lend on the property as far as financing goes. It has nothing to do with what a buyer's willing to pay for the property. So I get sellers sometimes ask me, should I get an appraisal done? No. The appraisal is not going to have any effect on what the current buyers are willing to pay for your home. Repairs or replacements. So another thing that a lot of clients talk to me about, Brendan, you don't understand. I just put on a $10,000 roof, right? That's a huge advantage to this house. I go, well, it's not that you enhance the home. You replace something that was broken that needed to be taken care of to make the home right. So make sure you're clear on the difference of upgrades versus replacement. Just because you put in a new water heater because it doesn't work anymore doesn't mean you enhanced your home. You had to replace and repair something that wasn't working. We'll talk about and guide you through all those pieces. And then also people's opinion. My neighbor told me that my house should sell for X. I went on this website and saw that it should sell for X. None of that matters. Real estate is local, very, very local. So you have to meet with an experienced consult, somebody that has the understanding of how to do this with you, right? An established team, an established system that can come through and talk to you exactly about all of these factors. All right. Now that we've gone through the market analysis, now we can start talking about net. And for you as a seller, what you care about the most is your net. All right. So in real estate, there are some different costs associated, and they vary by state. So I know we have some people joining us from different locations, but in the state of Colorado, you generally have a couple of standard costs in determining your overall net. So you have title fees. So with title, usually in the state of Colorado, the seller pays for the title insurance policy. This is just an insurance policy that when you sell this property, if anybody comes and makes a claim on that property, that if that claim is found to be valid, the title insurance policy will pay out a premium because you basically sold a house that didn't have a clear chain of title. Okay, but it wouldn't be your responsibility. So it's a policy to protect you. You have home warranty. You may want to offer a home warranty to the buyer. So you go, hey, look, I know there's some things wrong with the house. Instead of me fixing them, I'm going to offer a home warranty. Maybe that home warranty is $500. It covers the house for a year. And it's going to ensure if anything breaks in that first 12 months, you're not going to be responsible for it. And they're not going to be responsible. The warranty would protect it. Okay. And then, of course, you have the commission to sell it. And what sellers, I want to make sure you're always understanding is you have two different commissions. You have a seller commission. So the cost it's going to be for the agent and, for example, our organization to do all the things we need to do to get as many qualified buyers in your home to get you the highest price possible. And then you have a buyer commission, meaning that you can offer out compensation to attract buyer agents to come to your home with their buyers, and you can pay that to them as well. So there is no set commission amount. The only way to think about this is you're paying for the amount of value and the amount of eyes that you're trying to get in your property. We know two things. Think about this. Could you sell the property yourself? Could you go out today, put a sign in front of your yard and go, you know what, for sale, and find a buyer? The answer is, of course you could. The problem is, how much are you going to lose in net because you only had a very tiny group of people interested in your property instead of the power of what a professional real estate brokerage brings to you or a professional real estate team brings, where again, we're going to have millions of interested buyers interested in looking at the property. Then we're going to create a frenzy with them to start creating a bidding war, kind of like an auction, kind of like, oh, highest bidder, boom, boom, boom. That's where you make another 30, 40, 50, 70, depending on price point, 200 grand difference. So I always explain to people, would it make sense to try to save 10 grand, or would you rather net 30 grand? You're going to want to net the 30 grand. That's where the money's made in this. Okay. So always thinking about that when you're talking to a real estate professional, what am I going to net? Okay. All right. Next thing we're going to do, now we're going to talk about what we do and how we get it done and the best way to get you the highest price possible. So first of all, you need to align yourself with an organization that can produce a lot of buyer leads, buyer interest. So you're going to want to talk to your real estate professional and say, how are you going to get buyers here? How are you going to get all these eyes on my property? The next thing is we have to have professional photography and videography, depending upon your property. There's so many different levels of this, aerials, all of these things. All of this is going to be a conversation with your real estate partner to make sure that you're maximizing it. Then maybe you need staging, maybe you don't. Maybe the property would look better with staging. Maybe the furniture that you already have, the place looks beautiful. Our organization, we have a full-time certified state certified stager on staff to come and take you through that whole process to make those important decisions. And there's a lot of money at play, right? There are some certain statistics out there that say that homes that are professionally staged sell anywhere from 5 to 7% higher than homes that are not. And as I said, that doesn't mean you have to bring in furniture to your home. It might just be moving some things around. You might like your couch a certain type of way, but there might be a better way to put it that makes it look better for photography or for buyers walking through your home. All right. Then print marketing, right? So brochures, postcards, all of these things to bomb out to the entire area. So your neighbors know for it. So, all these things. So when they go to the office, they go, hey, did you know that property on 123 Elm Street is just going to hit the market next week? Oh yeah. Oh, I thought you loved my neighborhood. Buzz, 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 buzz. We're creating this energy. We want thousands and thousands of people talking about your home. Okay. Then online. So we're going to market it on over, or at least our organization, we market it on over 1,800 plus real estate websites and internationally, right? We know right now that about 6% of all buyers are coming from out of the country. So we have it on websites that we can't pronounce, I certainly can't spell, but we get a lot of traffic from those sources. And then of course the MLS, right? We're going to market it to local agents here. And then there's the extra services that different agents do and teams do. For example, we call like crazy. We call the neighborhoods, we call all of your neighbors, we call agents, we get everybody excited about the property to bring them into what we call our open house extravaganza, which I'll talk about here in a second. All right. Now, they'll take you through all of the marketing. Then let's talk about what you need to do to get this home right, so we can get it ready for photography and for those first showings. So when I think about this process, I break it down into 3 simple steps. Number 1, we're going to want to declutter, and I'm going to talk about that. Number 2, you're going to want to depersonalize. And then number 3, you're going to want to do a full 360 of the property and make sure anything that comes up, we can take care of these $5 fixes. Right? So that one door that doesn't close flush all the way, right? It just kind of jams because the house settled, right? We're going to shave that down. That one window that doesn't open quite right. We're going to make sure that we get these little things. A lot of times holes in the screens. I see screens with the screen door has got a hole punched through it because little Johnny ran through it when he was all hopped up on Mountain Dew one night, right? These little things that we want to address, because here's the thing, everyone. We're trying to create the illusion that this home has never been lived in. Think about how crazy that is, right? We're just trying to create an illusion that this home is brand new. No one's even slept in here, right? You've lived there for 25 years. Do I want to buy the house that you slept in, or do I want to own a new home? Of course I want to own a new home, right? Or at least I want the imagination of that being the case, okay? So we've got to think about all of those fixes. All right. So as we go into this, then we've got to make sure, as we go back to the light, bright, and smelling right, we want to prepare the home for showings, right? We got to get the house ready to show. And when we go through that, what we're going to do is, right, we've got to declutter, depersonalize. And when we talk about neutralizing, right, we want to neutralize. When we talk about light, bright, and smelling right, we want, when it's smelling right, we're trying to air it out. We're trying to, you might have 6 Great Danes, right? And you love your dogs and you go, I don't smell a thing. Well, believe me, someone else might have a more sensitive smell than your current situation. And everybody makes decisions based upon all of their senses, not just 1 or 2. So we've got to make sure it looks good, smells good, it's clean. So when somebody touches something, their hand doesn't stick to the counter. We've got to make sure all of this happens, including the audible piece of this, right? If you back up to a busy road, how are we going to work to neutralize that sound? If the train goes by every 19 minutes, what are we going to do? We as professionals have a strategy to overcome each one of those, and we'll be able to help you through every step of the way. All right. Then, do I need to stage or should I not stage? We talked about this a little bit, right? You'll have that consultation. You'll meet with them about it. And you can go through that entire process. Vacant properties, depending upon their size, their location, homes usually look bigger when they have furniture set in them because people have a hard time visualizing what it would look like empty, right? Like, how would my bed look in here? They don't have that ability to be able to go through that. So this is where staging creates this feeling of comfort. It creates this feeling of, oh, okay, yeah, oh wow, this place, it's a lot bigger than you think it is, right? Like, oh, there'd be plenty of room for this or that. So staging is critical. We also have virtual staging. So there's another way where we can put things into the property and digitize them into the pictures and into the marketing, so we don't actually have to put physical things into your home or take physical things out. So a lot of options there when it comes to staging. After we've established all of that, the next thing you're going to want to do is create with your real estate professional a calendar of success. So now we go, look, we know what to do to get it ready. We know how much we're going to sell it for. We know everything that we're ready to rock and roll with. Let's break out that timeline to make sure that we maximize every single day that we have. So we're going to create a point of contact, establish all of these different pieces. So, for example, on our team, we have a full-time listing manager. So her sole job is to make sure that this listing launches and is completely successful. And we have our marketing director that's going to make sure the photography is right, the virtual tour, the postcards, the brochures, all of those things are perfect. So our agents and our entire team can be on the phones finding a buyer for the property. Then, of course, we got to put a lockbox on the door. So we'll get the lockbox on there. We're going to schedule the photography. We have a coming soon process. So depending upon your local area, we have here in Colorado 7 days that we're allowed to pre-market the property, meaning that before we take it active to the local MLS, we can throw all of our firepower at it to see how the market's going to respond before we actually launch it. And a lot of times that helps us make decisions on pricing. So maybe we go, look, let's test out this price on the coming soon. If we don't get a lot of good feedback, then we know we need to adjust before that launch date. And then now we come up on our launch weekend. Now, with our organization, we know that strategically, it's always best to list your home on a Thursday afternoon. Statistically, it's when the most agents and buyers look at the internet to set their showings for the weekend. So we want to make sure that we launch on that Thursday, then have, if again, depending on your property and your preference, then have back-to-back open houses on Saturday and Sunday. And as we do that, right, this is going to bring us into our open house and our broker open. So we're going to try to funnel as many people through during that process that we possibly can. And we have what we call our sold in 65. 65 hours from the time that we go active to produce you the highest offer possible. So remember, 24 hours on Saturday, 24 hours on Sunday, and then by 5 p.m. on that Monday, we're creating this frenzy to get you the highest price possible. And there's a lot that goes into that coming soon process. There's a lot that goes into all of this, but this is where you're going to see offers $50,000, $60,000, $80,000, $100,000 over asking price, right? This is where that big money comes into play. Now, in getting all that ready, we're also going to need to make sure that we get some necessary documents. So a lot of questions I get are, well, how does the listing agreement work? And what paperwork do I need to have? So quickly, I'll just take you through. In our organization, we have a very simple process, which again, once you decide that we're going to move forward and we've established all the details, we're going to email you a number of different documents that can all be signed digitally. In there, you're going to have a listing agreement that basically says, we're going to do everything we promised to do to get you what you want. We're a little bit different. One of the notes I want to point out to everyone is, be careful on these listing documents. You really want to align yourself with an agent or organization that offers a 100% satisfaction guarantee. And very few do offer this. A lot of agents out there are going to try to lock you into a 6-month or 12-month listing agreement that says no matter what they do, you're stuck having to list the property with them during that entire period. We don't do that. We offer a satisfaction guarantee that means that any time you're not thrilled with our level of service, you can cancel the agreement no problem, no issues whatsoever, unless of course we're under contract. If you've accepted an offer on your home, then we're all going to be pretty happy, high-fiving on our way to closing. We never wanted to lock anybody into working with us. Just like how you have a job. If you didn't do your job, you're going to get fired. The real estate industry was set up a little bit different, and we didn't think that that was right. So that's why we offer that. So number one, make sure you know that you can have 100% guarantee. Number two is also want to make sure that you understand all the details of that agreement and the rest of the documents. So you're going to have a seller's property disclosure, all the documents that you're going to need about everything that you need to have listed out on what you've done to the home since owning it and any concerns that you know. There'll be a square footage disclosure confirming the square footage of the home. And don't worry, your real estate partner is going to guide you through all of these documents to make sure you have no questions. All right, then we have our launch weekend. And now, great, we've created this entire frenzy. It's Monday. We're going through all these offers. We're going to talk about what offer to accept and why. So when you're considering offers, some of the things you want to decide upon are, of course, price, right? Now, this is the thing. Price is important, but it's not the most important thing. It's the entire package of the offer that's the most important. So you could have an offer that could be, let's say, $500,000, and then you have another offer that is at $525,000. But the structure of how each one of those offers are, one could be cash, one could have financing. One could be buying your house in as-is condition, meaning they're not going to do an inspection. The other one wants a full inspection. There's so many moving pieces in these offers, and that's why it's critical to make sure that you align yourself with someone that can talk you through that can have the experience to say, look, I know this one sounds good, but let's consider all of them and let's think about this before you make a big decision. And then their guidance will help you understand what to do next. All right. And then, of course, contingencies. You might have two offers, and one offer has to sell their house to buy yours, but they're offering $25,000 more than the other offer, but they don't have to sell their house to buy yours. Got to weigh those risks. We'll talk about that. And then it's our job as your real estate professional is to go and interrogate the other agent, make sure that the buyer's pre-qualified, find out all of the information we can to help you decide which one to sign off on. All right. Now, if for some reason you don't receive an offer, right, doesn't mean that, oh my gosh, anything to panic about. It means one of two things. Well, actually, it comes down to a couple of things. Number one, you have a few options here. The first is you just wait, right? Maybe it's time to wait and see if the right buyer is going to come. That's the more risky way. Number two, perhaps you need to add more value to the property because at the current price you're at, the buyers did not decide to make an offer based upon what your value proposition was. They found other properties that had the same value that were at a lower price, and they went and made offers on that. And then the third is you can make a price adjustment on the property so that you can put it into a better position to make it more attractive to buyers to move forward with an offer. All right. So remember, when we're setting this price, we're trying to establish a strategic listing price based upon all the data that we have. But we don't know until the buyers respond, right? And then once they respond, we've got to take action after that to put you in a position to get a great offer. Okay? All right. Now we've got the three most important pieces of we're under contract. Woo! We're on our way to closing. There's three key things that are going to come up during that. And there's a lot of things, but these are the three big ones. Number one, with you as a seller, you're going to have the inspection. So the buyer, unless they're waiving their inspection, they're going to come through with their inspector, and they're going to be in the house for about 4 to 5 hours, depending upon your size of property. And they're going to look at everything, I'm talking everything, and come back with a list of items that they want to have addressed if there's anything wrong with the home. Now, in our organization, we're going to prep you for this. We know some of the kind of secret things that inspectors always look for. that we're going to help you save time on so you don't get, kind of those marks on the inspection report. So we'll take you through that to make sure you're fully prepped for it. Then once we receive the inspection report and the objection back, then, and this is again where we make a lot of our money, is then the negotiations begin. And our goal, of course, is to have you, first of all, get to a successful conclusion of the sale while retaining as much money as possible, right? That's obviously what our goal is here. Once we get past inspection, we're going to move forward to the appraisal. So if it's not a cash offer, meaning somebody's just giving you flat out cash, the bank is going to come out and send an appraiser to determine what the value of appraised value is for your property, for them to lend the money for the buyer to be able to finance the property. So this is also a very critical time and another big important piece. So we prepare with the appraiser, we send them comps. A lot of times we'll meet them in person to point out certain highlights of the property. We need this property to appraise as high as it possibly can, because if it doesn't, it could come back and you might have to adjust the price or negotiate with the buyer for them to be able to move forward, because they're getting 20% down conventional financing. It has to appraise for them to get enough value out of this for them to get the loan. Otherwise, they can't buy your home. We don't want that to happen, right? So a lot of moving pieces there. And then the last big deadline is what we call the loan approval deadline, right? So when we look at the loan approval deadline, what we're looking at is making sure that they were able to get through all the processes of their loan and get approved for that loan. Once we're after that date, you can breathe, you can start packing, you can start feeling okay that, oh my gosh, this whole process, we're there. And there's still a small percentage that something could go sideways, but you're at about 95%, maybe 98% that this is going to make it to the finish line. And that's the big piece. Now, one of the pieces here, going back to this, is, let me go back here to the offer. During this period, the buyer is going to put down what we call earnest money. So they're going to put a deposit for you to take the property off the market. During this contract, during these terms, if something doesn't go the way it should, right, then what's going to happen is you can either, they'll cancel the contract and you'll get their earnest money for your pain and suffering, or if they're within contract, that earnest money or that deposit would be returned to them. Here in the Front Range, that average deposit is about 3 to 5% of the list price. That's general kind of rule of thumb numbers, but all of that's negotiable as well. And your agent will be able to help you through that. And then, it's step 9, closing day. We made it. So now we get to closing. So to prepare for closing, we just put a few things on here, but there's a lot of things you're going to want to remember is there, and we're going to give you a checklist for all of this, talk you through every step. We've got to get the water shut off, the power switched over. If you have a satellite dish, any of these types of things. On the day of closing, you want to make sure that you're going to bring all the keys, codes, garage door openers, anything that you need to give to that buyer. A lot of times we have sellers that will write up, hey, here's how the sprinkler system works. Some of our clients will meet with the buyer the day of or the day before to kind of just give them an orientation and say, hey, since I've lived here, here's everything I know to make this place work, right? Here's how you take the filter out. Here's how you set the sprinklers to make sure. Here's how you adjust the landscaping lights, whatever it could be, right? Everything depends on every individual situation. And then, of course, you need to have your ID because they need to verify it's you so you can actually sell and close the property. So let's take a look at this, right? And recap. You got to know your timeline, got to figure out and go, hey, when is this going to work? And when do I really, and here's some things I always recommend to sellers. I hear this quite a bit. You know what? Maybe we'll just test the market. But you can hear from today, you don't want to go through all of this if you're trying to test the market. Be sure you want to sell. Make sure you understand what you want to do. Again, partner with a consultant that can help you through understanding all these questions. right? Select somebody that you can, trust, that has the validity to get you to where you want to go. Have that consultation so you can go over your goals and all of that. Go through the property so you can talk about every single piece of what we can do to maximize the return on your investment. Create a marketing strategy and a pricing strategy that is absolutely, number one, going to get you the highest price with the most amount or the least amount of inconvenience. And then take your agent's advice and do the things that need to be done to prepare the home for sale, right? What do I have to declutter? What do I have to depersonalize? What do I need to fix to make sure the buyer has the best experience overall? Then go through the offer process, understand and take the knowledge that your agent has to make sure that you're only not looking at price, but the entire offer, and then help them guide you through the entire process till the day of closing. So we've gone through that entire piece. So I'll stick around if there are any questions. I didn't see anything, but I'll just say, first of all, thank you to everyone that has joined us. And any questions on the home selling process? Everybody looks pretty crystal clear. I like that. So when I see shaking heads, well, again, it was an absolute pleasure. If you have any questions, please connect with myself or my organization. We're always here to help you, and happy selling.